have you all here on our channel. It is expected that you will watch the videos in their entirety and give comments at the end of each video. Visitors often cite its beach as one of the most breathtaking that Scotland has to offer, despite the fact that it is located in a remote location and requires a 4-mile hike to reach the closest parking lot. The beach, however, is claimed to be the dwelling place of a group of unfortunate ghostly sailors who were stranded a long time before a lighthouse was constructed in the early 19th century. This is despite the site's natural beauty and peaceful surroundings. Humans have been familiar with Sandwood Bay for a considerable amount of time. In point of fact, it is thought that this particular stretch of coastline was one of the first inhabited regions in the region that comes to be known as Scotland. There is evidence of a Pictish village, and it is claimed that Vikings would dock here after sailing south beyond Cape Wrath. They would then pull their longships along the beach and into Sandwood Loch because of the location of the hamlet. In the past, the beach was never a very welcoming place to be. During the 17th century, the first maps of the region were created, and they depicted the terrain as an extreme wilderness that was inhabited by wolves. From 1993 to the present day, the John Muir Trust has been in charge of managing a 4,600-hectare estate that includes Sandwood Bay. There are only roughly 100 persons living in all of that territory at the moment, 8 of whom are working crofters. The terrible highland clearances that took place in 1847 resulted in the eviction of a significant number of Sandwood's tenants. The stones that were taken from the abandoned clachan were then utilized for construction projects in other locations. As a consequence of this unfavorable time, if you go to the beach right now, you will have more than a mile of beach to yourself with very little competition. It should come as no surprise that ghost tales and folklore have attached themselves to Sandwood Bay in a limpet-like manner. Crofter, a sandy gun related to the folklorist R. MacDonald Robertson that he had saw a stunning mermaid that was 7 feet long and could be seen basking in the sun on a ledge in January of the year 1900. The reports of hauntings, on the other hand, are more widespread. In particular, the narratives are told by a bearded sailor who wears a peaked hat and brass buttons. It is reported that this spirit made an appearance to 2 crofters who were gathering driftwood in the early 1940s and yelled out, "All on this beach is mine, begone!" Shipwrecks have occurred in Sandwood Bay on several occasions. In the years leading up to the construction of the lighthouse at Cape Wrath in 1828, the region was known as a shipwreck graveyard due to the great number of accidents that occurred there. It is said that the shattered remains of Viking longships are concealed deep under the sand, and this is due to the fact that debris and corpses are washing ashore on the beach. Not only that, but it is also rumored that the riches from a Spanish galleon is buried here. The ruined Sandwood Bay Cottage, which is located in the middle of the beach, and Loch Sandwood, is the primary location where the majority of the ghost sightings have taken place. There are tales that the people who lived in the cottage would be roused from their sleep on stormy nights by the sound of a ghostly sailor banging on their window. In a particular occasion, an elderly fisherman had barely fallen asleep when he was roused from his sleep by the barking of his dog and the sound of footsteps approaching the hut. He asserts that he saw the face of an elderly sailor with a beard taking a peek inside, but when the fisherman went to investigate what was going on, the sailor had already left. Having woken up for another night to the sensation of an ominous presence pressing down on him, the fisherman arrived at the conclusion that he would not be returning to the cottage. In addition, there are tales of wild horse ghosts. 2 visitors who slept in close proximity to Sandwood Loch home said that they were aroused by the sound of the remains of the house shaking and vibrating. this sound, which was followed by the stomping of wild horse spirits. When two visitors who had travelled all the way from England were visiting Cape Wrath in the 1960s, they were staring out to sea when they saw a peculiar and tall man standing by the cottage. The eerie apparition had disappeared when the protagonist made the decision to investigate and walked to the cottage. It was eventually revealed to them by locals that they had most likely seen the ghostie.